Hi friends, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Here's what we're discussing today. Holy spreadsheet, Batman. Wait a minute, what would a British Batman be called? Probably Artibus. Yeah, so good show there, boys. Pip, pip, cheerio, and all that rot. Sorry, my British accent's not very good, but I have a story today to tell that is truly amazing. Now, there are lots of problems with the American Postal Service, one being that it doesn't work and play well with others. For example, it cost me $18 to send a book to a foreign country that would probably have cost me $1.50 here in the United States. But generally speaking, no one in a major corporation is getting a bonus because the software running the United States Post Office is screwed up. But that may not be the case in Britain. Now, the vast majority of British people, much like Americans, are law-abiding people. We were there in 2001, before the towers came down, I might add. We were there, and we ran into so many wonderful, nice people while we were in London. We went to the Cabinet War Rooms, we went to the British Museum, we went all over. We had a marvelous time while we were there. Tower of London, walked across the London Bridge, all those things. And like I said, we really enjoyed it, and we met some truly wonderful people. I would have to say that the ethnic food in Britain is much better than the British food in Britain, but nonetheless, it was a wonderful time to be there, and we had a great visit with the people that we were there with. So the vast majority of Brits are law-abiding people, just like the people in the vast majority of the United States. But absent a conspiracy, an incredible number of post office employees in Britain were prosecuted for theft and fraud. Let me make sure you understand what I'm saying. Without being able to define a conspiracy between about 700 people in the British postal system, the government there prosecuted these people for theft and fraudulent accounting. And it does not make sense to me how this happened. Now, part of this is because the post office at that time had its own investigators and its own prosecutor. Between 1995 and 2015, it prosecuted 700 sub-postmasters and sub-postmistresses, an average of one a week, for theft and fraud. There were another 283 cases that were brought by other law enforcement, and these were all based on information from a computerized accounting system called Horizon, designed by the company Fujitsu. Now, it appears that Horizon had a bad habit of losing money and making it look like it fell off the counter and into someone else's pocket. Some of these government workers went to prison. Many were financially ruined, and almost none of them were guilty of doing anything wrong. Now, these folks repeatedly and loudly pointed out to anybody that would listen that the software had huge problems. And apparently no one did listen. I don't know what caused someone to wake up one day and take a look and say, wow, we're having trouble getting postal workers because we put 700 of them in jail for fraud. Well, I think maybe I can tell you the answer to that. Now, Fujitsu, the company that made the software, yesterday apologized for its role in what has become a huge scandal in England. It acknowledged that its accounting software had multiple bugs and that those bugs contributed to the wrongful prosecution of hundreds of postal employees. Now, after 20 years, convicted postal workers, their attorneys, and their families won a legal battle to have their cases reconsidered. Now, to date, only 93 of those convictions have been overturned, but the government has plans that the victims will be able to sign a form that says they're innocent in order to have their convictions overturned and the claim compensation that is apparently going to be available. Now, you must be wondering what Fujitsu's part in all of this is. Well, it apologized. Fujitsu would like to apologize for our part in this appalling miscarriage of justice. We were involved from the very start. We did have bugs and errors in the system, and we did help the post office in the prosecutions of the sub-postmasters. For that, we are truly sorry. Well, I got to tell you, I'm pretty sure that those folks who were financially ruined, sent to prison, had their lives wrecked, their families destroyed, some of whom actually died in prison, I bet they all feel better now that Fujitsu has apologized for what has been labeled the worst miscarriage of justice in British history. Now, just between you and me, I would say there are probably a few other cases of miscarriages of justice in British history. Anne Boleyn sort of springs to mind, but all of that notwithstanding, the bottom line is they apologized. So the apologist for Fujitsu said that it has a moral obligation to contribute to the compensation for victims. Now, notice what it did not say. It didn't say it had a legal obligation. You got to watch those weasel words. Horizon Software was engineered by Fujitsu subsidiary International Computers Limited. It won a contract to design and build this computer system that was put into about 19,000 post offices in the United Kingdom. It was plagued by delays and other problems from the start, but it finally started going out to the post offices in about 1999. Now, Fujitsu's apologist said, "I am personally appalled by the evidence that I've seen." Right, but you were never jailed and called a thief, and even though your company probably should have been. Fujitsu's spokesapologist was quoted as saying that he doesn't know why Fujitsu didn't fix the errors when they were discovered. Let me help you out here. Money, 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 it's a rich man's world. Ask why Fujitsu didn't do anything about the Horizon system when they knew they had them, when they knew they had these problems. The corporate excuse maker said, "I know nothing. So the spokesweasel also assured everyone that Fujitsu is an ethical company and today is quite different from the company in the early 2000s. Well, that latter part is probably true. Fujitsu lost over $1 billion in stock value after Mr. Splainer's testimony before Parliament. Now, in what Gomer Pyle would call surprise, 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 it turns out that the post office hasn't tracked down the missing money. Gosh, imagine that. We've lost millions, we prosecuted innocent people for it, but shazam, we don't have any idea where that money went. And here's a problem. When the accounting did not come out right at the end of the day, many of these postmasters and postmistresses would kick in their own money to basically clean up the accounting so that it didn't look like they had made bad change or something like that. They did that in a bid to sort of get rid of the huge holes in the system that this Horizon software was causing. So gosh, where could all that money have gone? Well, the Fujitsu spokesapologist admitted that it is possible that the money taken from the branch managers could have been part of hefty remuneration packages for executives. Gee, you think? Now here's what I don't get. If you had a conspiracy, say, between the postmaster and the workers on the line, you could probably figure that out by looking at the software, and you could make a good case for how that happened, right? You could show the entries and where the money went. But what if you can't show where the money went? And if every post office had this same problem, or a large number had exactly the same problem, shouldn't that have been a red flag waving? Someone who was doing this, someone who was interested in prosecuting this case, was obviously more interested in mounting heads on walls than on doing justice. That this could go on without somebody saying, hey, all these people say it's the software. Have we looked at that? Is astounding. After about the fourth or fifth case where all of these people had problems with the software and the numbers didn't match up and they were in multiple different places, I would think that a smart person might have said, you know what? We need to set up a test post office and we need to do 300 transactions in it and see if all this stuff balances out. But apparently, nobody did that. And that is a real problem. Now, the government does say that they're going to compensate these people. I don't know how you compensate somebody who died in prison thinking that his family and all of his loved ones believed that he was a thief when he wasn't. I don't know how you make up for wrecking a person's lives, causing them to lose their home, things like that. Those are just astounding. Now, I can tell you what would happen in the United States. One of the bigger class action lawyers would be all over this like a dirty shirt, and he would be on TV day and night, and his commercials would go something like, hey, have you ever worked for the post office? Well, boy, have I got some money for you. And of course, that's ethically improper. You can't do that. But the bottom line is there would be a whole passel of lawyers that got together and went after this. Now, that's important because the post office is not necessarily immune from certain claims. And so it might be really interesting to see how that all turns out. At any rate, I wanted to express my condolences to the people in Britain who suffered through this tragedy. And you know, when it's widespread like this, I would bet you that there is somebody in every county in England who knows somebody that this happened to, that was accused. Maybe they were acquitted, maybe they weren't, but someone who was accused of being a thief when they were not a thief. And of course, that doesn't even touch the surfaces of the number of people who were accused of being a thief and didn't have the money to fight it, and so they pleaded guilty and took whatever the punishment was at that point. So those people I feel very badly for, and I hope that they get true compensation, and I hope they get to the point where they can forgive the people who did this to them. So that's what I have for you today. I apologize for wearing what I call my Southern Boy shirt. It's amazing the number of people you see down here in the South who wear these flannel shirts the way that most people wear jackets up north, because it doesn't usually get that cold. But boy, it is pretty cold. It is colder than a penguin's behind down here today, and so we have cool weather gear on. Thank you so much for watching. If you have the opportunity today, do something nice for someone. And then catch me down here at the beach again tomorrow. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.